Look, man, I've seen some weird stuff in the emergency room. I mean, truly bizarre trauma, but nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for the night I walked into the Kraken's nest after a 12-hour shift, only to have my past blow up in my face, literally, with a splash of cheap lager. My name is Sierra Vance, and 10 years ago, I didn't exist. Not officially, anyway. Now I'm just a 35-year-old trauma nurse at Coronado General, usually running on coffee fumes and the grim satisfaction of stitching up another Friday night gone wrong. That night, though, I just wanted quiet. I sat at the far end of the bar, pulled my messy bun tighter, and tried to pretend I wasn't sitting in a bar packed with more alpha hormones than a UFC locker room. That's when he showed up, Lieutenant Commander. Trent Dixon, Tank to his boys, a Navy SEAL with arms that looked medically impossible and an ego big enough to tow a carrier. He was laughing, telling some loud story, and when he spun around, his beer hit my shoulder, soaking my gray t-shirt in icy, stale foam. Oops. My bad, sweetheart, he slurred, not meaning it at all. That smirk was pure entitlement, the kind only earned when you know no one in the room will challenge you. His teammates howled, high-fiving each other over the spectacle. The whole place, 40 or 50 veterans, just turned to watch the show, waiting for the tired little nurse to cry or flee. I didn't move. I just set down my phone, real slow, and started blotting the stain with cocktail napkins. Deliberate, like I was cleaning a deep puncture wound. You see, when you spend 10 years trying to be normal, trying to be the healer instead of the destroyer, that cold spill of beer, that disrespect, it wasn't just liquid. It was the world trying to pull you back into the mud. Hey, I'm talking. To you, doll, Dixon growled, leaning in, his breath thick with whiskey and bad decisions. And that's when he made the mistake. He grabbed my wrist, a big, meaty hand clamping down, intending to intimidate me. But his thumb brushed against a faint circular scar just above my pulse point. It looked exactly like a healed bullet grazing, wound, and in that split second, I saw a flicker of doubt cross his eyes. That was the only warning he got. One moment I was seated. The next, the 250-pound lieutenant commander was face down on the polished oak bar, his massive arm locked behind his back in a textbook, screaming restraint hold. The bar went silent. 50 phones, instantly recording, caught the aftermath, but nobody, not even the grizzled old Master Chief Pops Riley sitting in the corner, saw me move. Pops, a legend in his own right, slowly set his glass down. He recognized that move. It wasn't gym self-defense, it was muscle memory, drilled through thousands of repetitions where failure meant a body bag. Let him go, Captain Elena Sharp, the only female officer in Dixon's group, commanded. She was fierce, all regulation bun and authority. You just assaulted a United States Navy SEAL. Do you have any idea the kind of trouble you're in? I released him, sat back on my stool, and picked up my water glass. A water, please, I told the bartender, Jake, a former Army Ranger, who was now staring at me like I'd just materialized from thin air. Dixon scrambled up, face scarlet with fury and humiliation, rubbing the marks on his wrist. Lucky grab. That's all. Pure luck. I'm sure you believe that, I said, sipping my water, letting the silence stretch until it was heavy. Hayes, Captain Sharp, scoffed. You want to test your luck? Arm wrestling. Right now. You versus Tank. Pure strength. Let's see how lucky you are then. No, thank you, I replied. I wasn't going to play his game. My game was about precision, not power. I looked at Hayes. Bud S. Phase 3, Hell Week dive training. What's the contingency for a shallow water blackout during deep water knot tying? The question hung there. It was specific, deeply technical, not something you pick up in a documentary. Hayes's confident posture crumbled. How would you know that? Because the procedure they teach is wrong, I stated, my voice completely level. The mandated recovery position increases the risk of secondary drowning by almost 30%. Any special operations medic who's actually worked combat diving ops would know that. Jake, the bartender, slid a disassembled Glock 19 across the bar. You talk like you know weapons. Prove it. Field strip this for me. I glanced at the gun, then back at him. 17 seconds with tools. 23 without. 23? Jake challenged, skeptical. The range record here is 32 seconds, set by a Tier 1 operator. I picked up the Glock with my left hand. My right was still holding the water glass. The whole room leaned in. What followed wasn't flash or showmanship. It was cold, beautiful efficiency. The movements were economical, precise. The slide, barrel, and spring assembly were placed on the bar in a perfect, neat line. 4 seconds, Jake announced, his voice barely a whisper. Silence. Total, absolute silence. She smells like death, Thompson, a grizzled old veteran, whispered, weaving closer, his eyes glazed with liquor but clear with recognition. Not the hospital kind, the other kind. The kind that clings to you in places where the Geneva Convention is just toilet paper. Then Colonel Marcus Cross, commander of Naval Special Warfare Group 7, walked in with his entourage. He wasn't happy about the commotion. He looked at me, then at the defeated SEALs, and his eyes narrowed. I asked you a question, Dixon repeated, emboldened by the high-ranking backup. Everyone who's served has a call sign. If you're an operator, you have one. What is it? Tell us or admit you're a fraud. I stood up slowly from the stool, 5'6", surrounded by 200-pound warriors. But in that moment, I felt 10 feet tall. I looked directly at Tank Dixon, who was trying so hard to project arrogance. My voice was barely a breath. Nightjar. Tank Dixon's beer bottle, which he was raising for a dismissive gulp, slipped from his suddenly useless fingers and shattered on the floor. His face drained of color so fast I thought he was going into shock. Pops. Riley's phone clattered onto the table. Holy mother, no! Thompson gasped, falling to his knees. She's the one, the ghost of Stonefall. Colonel Cross visibly staggered. He couldn't reconcile the stories he'd heard in classified briefings with the tired nurse in front of him. Then Admiral Julian Morrison, commander of Special Operations Command, burst through the door, having clearly raced from his office. He took 3 steps, saw me, and did something that instantly redefined the room. He dropped to one knee. Master Chief Nightjar, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I am so sorry. I didn't recognize you immediately. The bar exploded. 50 phones were suddenly pointing at me. My name, Sierra Vance, was Master Chief Nightjar, the most decorated female operator in U.S. history, the one who didn't officially exist. They called the mission Stonefall, the single most successful failed operation in Special Ops history. Intel was wrong. It was a trap. 300 enemy fighters. My team, my family died in the first 15 minutes. I held that compound for 16 hours alone against an entire network battalion, and I saved all 73 civilians before being listed as KIA. I was shot 67 times. I died twice on the medevac. When I got out, I let the ghost stay dead. I chose to heal instead of destroy. I was finally just Sierra Vance, nurse. But then, the other reason Admiral Morrison was here hit me. A call came in on my encrypted device, a one-word call sign, Oracle. I listened, my blood turning to ice. Samir, the 8-year-old boy I carried across 200 meters of open ground under heavy fire, he was 18 now. He and 13 female teachers had been snatched by the Crescent Network. They were going to execute him publicly in 72 hours. They want him as leverage, I said, hanging up the phone, my composure finally cracking. They want the world to know the boy the ghost of Stonefall saved is going to die by their hands. You can't go back, Dixon choked out, his arrogance replaced by pure fear. You're a civilian now, a nurse. You save lives in hospitals. You think I chose emergency medicine by accident? I challenged him. Every trauma victim, every GSW on my table. I see my team. I see Samir. I try to balance the scales. Captain Hayes stepped forward, her eyes blazing with a new kind of respect. What do you need, Nightjar? We owe you. We all do. I looked around the room, at the SEAL who humiliated me, the contractor who underestimated me, the officers who questioned me. And I saw something else. Redemption. Not just for me, but for them. I need to disappear for a while, I said simply. Pops. Riley stepped up, pulling out a worn black challenge coin. Task Force Stonefall, he said, placing it on the bar. My brother was there. He knew you as Nightjar. I picked up the coin, tracing the worn edges. He was right. He said his little brother would be the best Master Chief the Navy ever had. An hour later, the Kraken's Nest was an impromptu operations center. Phones were silent, videos were deleted, and a dozen elite operators, all volunteers, all putting their careers and lives on the line for a ghost, were planning an impossible rescue. 2 days later, at dawn in the Badlands, I walked alone toward the enemy compound. No armor, no visible weapons, just me. I was the bait, the distraction they were expecting. I reached the perimeter. The commander, a scar-faced brute, stood before me. The ghost of Stonefall. You received our invitation. I'm here for Samir, I said, my voice steady. Me for 14. You've always wanted me, he laughed, cruel and harsh. You will watch them die. Then you will beg for death yourself. He raised his rifle, aiming for my head. I started counting. 17 seconds. That's how long you have to surrender before you understand what you've done. 16, 15. High above, Tank Dixon, prone on a ridge, had his crosshair centered on the commander. Through my earpiece, I heard Pops Riley's voice, calm and steady. All teams stand by on Nightjar's mark. 3, 2, 1. The world tore apart. Tank's shot took the commander. 11 other rifles spoke simultaneously, taking out the outer security with surgical precision. I rolled, drawing the sidearm I had concealed, and moved into the breach. The rescue was quick, clean, precise. Everything Stonefall wasn't. We found Samir and the teachers huddled in a basement cell. We reached the extraction point. As the last teacher boarded the helicopter, I turned to do a final sweep. That's when I saw him, a young soldier, barely 16, blood covering half his face, stumbling from cover. His ancient rifle was shaking, aimed at the helicopter door. Every fiber of my training demanded I put him down. He was a threat, but I saw the fear in his eyes. The same fear I saw in 8-year-old Samir a decade ago. I lowered my weapon, and I spoke to him in Pashto. Go home to your mother. He trembled. His finger twitched on the trigger. My team had him targeted, waiting for my signal, but I held my hand up. This war has taken enough children, I whispered. Go home. Choose a different path. For an endless moment, the boys stared at the legendary ghost sniper who refused to shoot. Then, his rifle dropped from his nerveless fingers, and he turned and ran, disappearing into the shadows. We lifted off. Everyone was safe. Everyone came home this time. 6 months later, I got my official discharge papers from Pops Riley. Turns out, Master Chief Sierra Vance was never officially deceased, just MIA. Now, I have full honors, full benefits, and a promotion at the ER. But on my kitchen counter, next to the challenge coin Pops gave me, lay a new letter. The letterhead was black and unofficial. The message was brief. Nightjar, your unique skills are needed. Consulting basis only. Complete deniability. Interested? Oracle. Below it, a set of coordinates. Not the Badlands this time. Somewhere closer. Somewhere children are being trafficked. Somewhere the conventional authorities can't, or won't act. I thought about Tank Dixon, who sent me a text every Tuesday for team dinner at the Kraken's Nest. I thought of the young soldier I let walk away. And I thought of the fact that I had finally found peace, not by burying the warrior, but by giving her a new purpose. The ghost that guards. I picked up the phone. It rang once. Oracle, I said. It's Nightjar. I'm interested. Because sometimes the greatest battles aren't about the ability to kill, but the wisdom to know when not to. And sometimes the most important wars are fought in the shadows. by people who don't officially exist to save lives that matter more than any regulation. Question for you. What do you think about Nightjar's choice to let the young soldier go? Was that a moment of profound moral courage, or a dangerous mistake that could cost her and her team dearly in the future? Do the ends always justify the means in the Shadow War, or are there lines a true soldier should never cross? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories of quiet heroes walking among us.